Okay, let's talk about Drupal CMS. What happened and what's coming. I'm Cristina Chumillas. I'm the. Oops, we haven't updated that. I was a UX lead. I'm the product design lead now because I'm the UX research lead, and I'm also a core front-end framework manager and UX maintainer for core.
And I'm Pamela. I'm the product owner of Drupal CMS. I'm also on the core committer team as the facilitator.
So this session is going to go a little bit first about the vision and strategy for Drupal CMS, the current state and what's coming. So let's start first. How many of you have tried Drupal CMS? That's a lot of people. Okay, so let's start first with, if I go away, yeah, you won't hear me. With a strategy a little bit, as you probably know, we announced Drupal CMS in Portland last year, and after 8 months, we actually shipped Drupal CMS 1.0. It was in January. We moved it, so it was on the 24th birthday of Drupal, and we launched something after 8 months. It was hard, but we got there eventually. And the plan is to actually ship Drupal CMS 2.0 by October, with at the same time as the next DrupalCon in Vienna, and with all the new improvements that we're planning, that we're going to talk about a little bit. But Drupal CMS in general is really cool. There are things that are really proud that are in there, but if you really need to get something out of this session, I personally think this is the slide that is more important. And it's that Drupal CMS has helped accelerate innovation. Look at that year, 2024. I'm not sure if you all can see the ones that you are on the right. That's crazy. So, and that's organization credits. That means that it's people that is investing their contributions, their companies, they are investing on people to actually contribute to Drupal. And it's so, look at the previous years. It actually changed what is going on in Drupal. It actually, I'm not sure if you remember, I'm not sure if you were at the last DrupalCon. People were super excited after the announcement. Obviously, people had a lot of questions. We all had too. So I think it's like the biggest message here is that Drupal is, again, growing in terms of innovation, and obviously that's going to bring a lot of other things. So the thing that we're trying to achieve is to be the gold standard for no-code website site building. And that's a big change compared to what we used to say or what we used to do for Drupal itself. We usually try to be more on the enterprise side of things. And now we are actually going to, or trying to change this. And to actually get there, to actually end up being the gold standard for no code, to decide that we wanted to go there, we needed to define which were the problems that we're trying to solve, and defining for whom we needed to solve those problems. And basically, that took a lot of time, but that's super important because we're not targeting the same people with Drupal CMS. So basically, there was this research that happened way previous that shipping Drupal CMS. This was some research that was done by the IKEA team that was working on Experience Builder. And they did all the research defining which markets were available in terms of like needs for each of the market. And they realized that nowadays, who is actually deciding who is going to spend, where the money is going to be spent, is not the technical side of things. It's not the IT group of people, it's more the marketing side of things, and they are the ones that are actually deciding. And the summary of all the other complex screen, it's this one. This is in euros. In dollars, it could be around 30 to 120. And that's important because usually we used to say, when we introduce Drupal to people, we usually say, it's like WordPress, but enterprise. And with that, we put a lot of baggage or a lot of information on this, but enterprise. And this, but enterprise means with people that make more money, with a way more expensive project, with more time invested on that. And when we're saying this, we're targeting these projects that are smaller than that you want to get them from 0 to 10 faster. And that's what we want to do, because Drupal right now, most of the companies are targeting way bigger projects. And what we want to do actually is grow this market. We don't want the actual companies to go and pursue these kind of projects. What we want is grow the market for Drupal, get more people working on Drupal. We did a lot of research also doing benchmarking, not just on direct competitors. So if we are talking about this budget, we are not talking about the weeks of the wall. We are not talking about the projects that are going to be $5,000, $10,000 per project. We are targeting way bigger projects, Webflow, Contentful, some of the bigger WordPress ones. But we actually did benchmarking on several products to see how they solve things. Because, for example, in terms of the UI, in terms of patterns, they are already solving a lot of things, each one on a different way, but we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So we wanted to solve a lot of the same problems that they are already solving, and we also wanted to see how they marketed themselves. And with the Drupal CMS product strategy, which is something that we actually published at the beginning, before DrupalCon Barcelona was, I think we published that around August, maybe, or something like that, last summer. So the summary would be that we're targeting marketing professionals that want to build and manage their sites without developers, or using the command line. That means that it's not that we don't want developers. It's just that when I say without developers, it means Drupal expert developers. It means people that know perfectly how Drupal works. Not sure how familiar you are with marketing teams in a lot of companies, but they usually have the person that is like the marketing lead. This person is going to define the strategy of the marketing team. But the marketing team itself will have web developers, will have designer, and we are targeting these other people, these people that is actually built all these things. So these people already have a background on web. They know what SEO is. They know what a marketing campaign is. They know what a MailChimp is. So they already have a knowledge. It's just that they are not Drupal experts. And that's what we are actually targeting with that. It means that whatever we ship, it has to be easy for them to use. And obviously, that's what I was saying. We want to extend this presence, the Drupal presence on this mid-market segment. It means that eventually, a lot of these projects, or some of these projects, will end up being bigger projects because, again, we are working. I'm not sure if you know, but when you install Drupal CMS, what you actually have is Drupal. It's not something that later on you cannot extend. So all the things that you can do with a Drupal site, you will maybe start with a Drupal CMS, and eventually you will extend. So you will go to these other companies that are already existing in there. So we want to differentiate ourselves from our competitors because it is defined and designed for marketers especially. The features that we want to ship, we want to make sure that they are solving the problems of the marketers. And we have a growth-oriented approach, meaning that any project that you start, you will be able to make it bigger, to grow the project, to extend the existing Drupal CMS site with the new features that your project is going to need. Obviously, we want to have AI-assisted tools, meaning we don't want to lose the wave that is coming with AI. We want to make sure that we are shipping with all the things that are needed, and our competitors are already adding. And we want to use the existing competitive advantages that come with Drupal, from multilingual, from security, accessibility, all these things are already in there.
All right, so that's the vision. Now I'll talk about what we actually have. So we launched version 1.1 just last week with a few sort of minor changes, but new features, and I'll talk about some of those specifically. Also, we've had some team changes, so this is our current team makeup. We recently added some new committers, Jim Birch and Kristen Lopez, and Adam, who was our sole committer for a while, is also now our lead architect. So what does Drupal CMS actually ship with? The first thing, I guess, most obviously when you install is that it is a brand new installer. So if you're familiar with the old Drupal installer, which many of us might not actually be because we install using Drush or something like that, and so you don't actually interact with it too much, pretty early on it was obvious that we had to change that in some pretty major ways in order to remotely achieve the goal. So we basically completely took it apart and rebuilt it. And when I say we, I mean Adam. But we simplified it. We took out the stuff that doesn't need to be there. We added a few things. So we've added this first page where you can choose some features. We also redesigned it with this beautiful design that we are still iterating on. And that was designed by Farah Yu from Lullabot and implemented by Ricky Boko from Previous Next. And then after you install, the old Drupal installer, or sorry, I should say the Drupal core installer, after you install, it dumps you on the homepage, logged out. So it's like, what the heck do I do now? So major innovation of Drupal CMS is that it actually logs you in after you install, and it sends you to this dashboard page. So the dashboard page is the first page you see, and it's also the first page you see when you log in, instead of the old user page, which I know was so valuable to everybody. So I'm sorry that we took that away. So in addition to the dashboard, we have the Gin admin theme as the default. So Gin is based on Claro, but it's much more modern, much more clean. Because it's not in core, it's innovating a little bit faster, and probably kind of going to standardize on that at some point in Drupal core too, but that's a much bigger thing to deal with. So, and then the other thing to call out is the updated navigation. So you see that left-hand navigation, which is in Drupal core, but isn't the default yet because there are a few very, very minor issues left to get that stable. And then once that is stable, that will be the default navigation. So if you still want the old top toolbar, it'll be there for a while, but I can't recommend this enough. I think initially it was a little bit of an adjustment to get used to the sidebar, but now when I switch back to a site that has the top bar, it totally throws me. So I strongly recommend getting familiar with the new navigation. Then I think probably the biggest thing for Drupal CMS 1.0 is all of the stuff that's in there that's not in core that you need on probably 80% of the sites that you build. So if you have a site that's doing publishing for some purpose, if you have a site with content editors that are publishing content, you most likely will need most, if not all, of these features. So this is honestly not even a full list. This is just kind of the big ones. And I'm not going to read them off one by one, but I think you probably get the idea that if you are starting a new site and it needs any of these capabilities, I recommend that you start with Drupal CMS. Not only are they included, but they're pre-configured with, I guess, what's sort of like the expert recommendations. So a lot of these things were added and set up by the module maintainers or folks with a lot of experience in these areas. There are some also additional quick UX wins. So the coffee module, which was something I knew about but never really used, and now that I've used it, I kind of can't live without it. So it's just a shortcut that lets you type to search the admin menu. So if you're just trying to find a page, not necessarily because you don't know where it is, but it's just faster to type it than to go through 4 levels of a menu. And then we also recently added the Tagify module, which is something I didn't really know about, but it's a new widget for entity reference fields and specifically works really well for tags. I mean, if you're familiar with the standard Drupal autocomplete field, you can probably see how This is slightly better. And so not only did we change it to be the default for all of our existing tags fields, but and this is, I think, sort of speaks to Christina's point about contribution. When the module maintainer, I don't remember who proposed it, but whoever proposed adding Tagify said, hey, this is great. And I said, yeah, this is awesome. However, the only hesitation I have is if you install it and we add it as the default, if you make a new content type or if you make a new tags field, it still defaults to the old widget, which is just one of those sort of Drupal things that's annoying, because then you have to go and change it every single time. So I just said it would be kind of cool if we could set it as the default for new fields as well. And within 24 hours, the module maintainers had added that as a setting. So it's on by default in Drupal that in Drupal CMS that if you add a new tags field, it uses the Tagify widget, which I know might not seem that big, but if you've worked on Drupal sites, it is really annoying. So these are the kinds of little things that we're trying to pick up, and finding that module maintainers are so happy to collaborate on. And I think these are some really important wins that are benefiting the whole community and not just Drupal CMS users. Another really exciting thing, and I said this the other day, that I never thought I would be excited about consent management, but the way that this has been solved in Drupal CMS is so cool. And there's a really long story where how it came to be the solution that it is, but essentially there were like 20 modules that did something along the lines of cookie compliance, and the track lead got together a group of people working in this space, a number of the other module maintainers. They analyzed all of the modules. They couldn't really find anything that did the job perfectly, and then they found this brand new module with only a couple of hundred installs using the Claro library, which is actually a third-party library that you can pay to get additional services for, but they have a free version that we are using. It comes pre-configured with Drupal CMS, and the way it's pre-configured, it's not one of those annoying pop-ups. It's actually kind of, it's sort of silent, and the way it works is, by default in Drupal CMS, if you don't add the events module, there's nothing that requires consent from an end user. So the CMS user obviously has cookies, but the end user has no cookies. And the way it works is it actually auto-detects if additional cookies are added. So if you have a site that's just a bare site and you add a YouTube video, it will automatically add that to the consent management. And instead of popping up, again, it just shows this consent within the video itself. So you can either opt in there or opt in permanently. And then, so the left is with YouTube video and the right is after I've added a Vimeo video. So this is all happening automatically. You don't have to set up all of these things yourself, which I just think is like so cool, because I think in the past privacy was perceived to be such a pain, and people are paying third-party providers to manage this for them. And a lot of this is now you can do, I mean, obviously you have to check that the setup is working as you expect, but it's relatively automatic, and I think that's really cool. We also have accessibility tools included, which is the editorially accessibility checker. So if you add this recipe, it's not on by default, because I think if you're not a sophisticated web user, it might be kind of confusing. But if you are interested in accessibility and you enable this recipe, you get the module itself, and you also get a demo page that's an unpublished page that we ship with, which includes a bunch of mistakes. So that's basically a way of demonstrating how the module itself works. So you can see on the left is the view of the actual page, the front end page, and on the right is the edit page. So it actually shows you while you're editing what might be problems. If you click on the error, it pops up with a description of what the problem is and how you might be able to fix it. You can either fix it, or you can say, no, I actually know, I know about that and I don't want to worry about that. Just kind of silence the error. And then of course, SEO, which is just one of those things, again, that you kind of always end up spending so much time setting up, and you just think, why do I have to do this from scratch every time? You don't anymore. And the way the SEO recipe is set up, again, was really sort of analyzed and assessed, and we came up with this approach where it adds 3 new regular fields. So we are using the meta tag module, but we're not exposing the meta tag fields themselves, because if you've ever seen that form with 10,000 fields, and also the visible tokens, which in my experience can really throw off content editors if they go to edit the meta tag and they see this like weird syntax that they think is code, and they're like, I think it might be broken, or I don't know how to deal with this. So the extra fields allow us to set a default, so the meta information still will pull from the node title or the node description or the node image unless these fields are filled in. That's using the token or module, which was something I didn't even know about, but that way we can have the option, but still not show the tokens to the users. And the other thing that it includes is the Yoast or real-time SEO module, which lets you type a focus keyword and it will actually give you real-time data on how that would perform in search engines. So the results, I think, of version 1 were, I think we proved successfully the concept. I think we proved that it was something that we could do, and it was something that the community wanted. And also the unprecedented community collaboration that Christina already alluded to me, was one of the really most exciting things, and that's continuing. So it wasn't just this initial buzz and then it kind of died off. I think we're really seeing people sticking with it. And then lastly, it gave us a lot of clarity on what we might need to do next. So that was based on both things we learned, things we realized we couldn't achieve and had to kind of push to the future, or things that we just hadn't thought of that we definitely need to work on. And then, of course, we got a lot of feedback. So I'll pass back over to Christina to talk a little bit about that.
Big button. Okay, so we launched a first release and we were like, yes, done. Obviously, no, but we were like really excited. And we actually didn't want to do a big push outside the community, but we obviously wanted to hear what other people were saying. And we were waiting for feedback from people and looking forward to learn about this feedback. And of course, some people already had tried that. And the day we started launching, that 2-3 days after, like everybody was sending links. Look at these people making this post here. Look at these other people looking this post there. And we were so excited because people were like, okay, we've done this great thing. And someone sent this link. And it was basically the WordPress people saying, yeah, you've done a great job. How can I use that? So I think it's a great learning because we're coming from a place where you have to do a lot of stuff yourself, a lot. You really need to start. You start from scratch. You have almost nothing, and you have to install everything. And you know how to do that. You just spend some time. You maybe have a starting point that already has some of this work done, but you know what to do. They were like, there were so many people just saying, how do I install that? How I even start with that? So it was a learning process. You have to be willing to learn from all the context that came from here. And this was one of the things that we wanted to solve, and you will see later which plans and which learning we got from there. We also did a lot of some user tests. It's been 3 rounds so far. Emma tested all the AI stuff, and she was really excited with the learnings that she got from there. We also she also tested the installation workflow and what people actually got from there, what was their reaction. For example, she mentioned something super interesting. When you're loading, after the installer, you're loading stuff, it's saying it's installing this, installing the coffee model, and it looks like people were like, I haven't chosen that. Why is it installing so many things? So we are constantly learning about things that we will want to change. Something controversial, but that's a reality, is that people don't understand what recipes are, what the difference is between modules and recipes. Actually, some of the people, we actually asked them, what are you expecting from this with the recipes in there? And they were like, well, this is going to be probably a recipe where I will follow step by step, which are the things that I need to install. And people have assumptions. We already know what they are, but people that don't have experience, they don't understand what a recipe is. So we wanted to review a lot of assumptions that we had to move forward and make something that a user that is not a Drupal expert will understand from scratch, without the need to research on Google or ChatGPT or whatever, what is the thing that they have in front of them. There shouldn't be any kind of overload. And obviously all the content creation workflow, that things that we were showing right before, how are they performing with users that don't have experience with that. Something that came up from this initial launch is that we've done a lot of work. There's been a lot of work put on getting experts, deciding which things needed to be added there. But the UX team is invested a lot of time doing research on what other things needed to happen there. So there wasn't that much time to coordinate. So we want to improve a lot what we have in there. And we want to make sure that we set define and a stable team that can work on UX. And we want to make sure that whatever we do next, it's actually driven by UX decisions and not by the fact that we want to add a new feature. Is this feature really necessary? Yes, no, it's what is the problem that we're going to solve. So this is the most important thing that we want to define. So with this in mind, we want to acknowledge that we have a limited set of UX experts in the Drupal community. There actually are experts, but a lot of time people don't even know where to start. So we've created these Slack channels that you can see on the left. I will talk a little bit more about that later. But we need a dedicated set of specialists who can grow into decision makers. So a lot of time people that has a UX background don't have a lot of experience with Drupal. And that means that if they sit next to a developer, they are going to do like, yeah, you're the expert, you decide. No, sorry, the UX expert knows about UX. And even though the Drupal expert will know how to implement that and will say, okay, if we change this small thing, maybe it's going to be 1 week less of work. But the UX expert is a UX expert. And this person needs to be in the conversation again and be able to make decisions. And I'm going to fight for that, whoever says no. Just saying. So the goal is to build UX and design capacity. Ideally, sustain and promote the design group. So we have a lot of people that from Lullabout that has helped for a long time. We had a designer also from Akia joining, another from Droptica. But we want to keep this group stable and hopefully grow it. We also want to establish a UX testing group where we also have people from Lullabout, like Meg, for example, here, and Emma and other people, and Jen and other people. And there's also people from Evolving Web, like Bruna. So if you want to help on that, or if you know someone in your company that might be able to help, please let them know that we're looking for them. We're also UX people. We will speak the same language, whatever it is, English, Spanish, whatever, but also UX language. So we won't be we will try to avoid as many Drupalisms as we can. We also want to improve the tools for designers and researchers. This is going to take more time, but it's our goal. And also we want to have a clear and easy onboarding for people, so it's easy to start. So if you want to get involved, contact us, either me or Emma in here. Let us know if you're like shy or if you know someone in your company that wants to get involved. Just DM us on Slack or whatever, on LinkedIn or whatever, and we will be there and we will be really happy to get UX people. And we already organized these channels that I was saying. We have the UX working group. We specifically removed Drupal CMS from there because we want to make sure that any UX person that searches for that understands that it's in general for UX. And it's a working group because we want to work on UX. It's not that we want to talk about UX. We actually want to work on the things that we identify. And we define the regular office hours. It works both for Europe, India, well, IST and the US. We tried to have another one that was Australia friendly, but only Pam came. So if there is room for that, we will organize another one. And we also recently published a new page where there is all the information. It's basically drupal.org/community/UX. So if you have any UX person in your team, you know about someone in the community that is has experience with UX, please let them know. We are really looking for them. And we also created a new role. Emma took a lot of time and finally got that sorted out. And it's important because companies usually care about the credit system. And if you are able to make sure that one of the person or one of the people that is actually helping, they can prove that this is happening, we are putting the contributor at the same level as all the other ones. These are the profiles that we are looking for. If you're a developer and you also want to help, there is the UX channel and the Friday meetings that it's like a bunch of developers figuring out issues and talking about UX. But if you have this experience, please come and help us on the UX working group, because we are doing the research, we are doing the designs, and we're going to take the time to explain you how to work on Figma, how to work on with the Figma design system that we have. So please come and help us. If you know someone, let them know. So basically, we want to create this stable group, UX stable group of experts to work on that.
All right, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing to improve the kind of how to get started onboarding, that kind of aspect of things, which was something I think we knew we had to work on, but we definitely got some feedback as well to that end. So one of the things that Emma's also been working on with user testing is, so we have this new dashboard, which is great, but we definitely still don't really have the problem nailed as far as like what's the user journey, what are the things that people want to do next, what are the things people expect here, what are the ways we can guide them through. So there's a checklist API that's being worked on. We also have tours, but rather than just kind of throwing everything we have at it, we're really trying to research and design this process so that it makes sense to users. We also have started developing some documentation that's not aimed at developers. So Joe, who's here, has led that charge and has been writing that documentation. And it's still early days because Joe was literally trying to document things that didn't exist yet, which was quite challenging. So as Drupal CMS grows and becomes a little bit more sort of stable and substantial, that's going to get easier. But we have this section on Drupal.org, which is the Drupal CMS specific user guide. Again, the language is non-developer focused, and also importantly, the pages are sponsored. So each page has a company sponsor, and you get your logo on the page, and that's a really great way that you can contribute. Maybe if you don't have ways, if you don't have people that can contribute to Drupal, you can contribute a page. It may be a topic that's relevant to your company, so you can get visibility on that topic in front of users that are looking for information about that. So if you want to know more about that, you can come find us after. Another awesome thing that I think that we've done is after the launch, we got a lot of feedback that the DDEV for local setup was not really meeting the needs of the users that we were targeting. I mean, of course, we knew that it wouldn't meet the needs of the no-code user, but we did think that developers from other communities would be able to make this work. And of course, some of them did, but many of them in the WordPress Reddit were complaining that it was too hard. So we made it easier. So Dries showed the demo of this in his Dries note, but if you haven't tried it, I strongly recommend that you do. There is now a link on Drupal.org on the download page. Currently, there's a Mac version linked there. There's also a Windows version that you can get on GitHub, but it's not signed yet, so you get this scary error if you open it. It's not scary, it's obviously fine, but once that error is resolved, we'll add the Windows version. But I really can't recommend this enough, and I know that it might not seem like a developer tool, but I personally have used it tons when I'm just like, what is that? What is that? How does that work again? I just want to see that screen. You can just pop up the site so easily. I really, really recommend it. And then, of course, another announcement from the Dries note is this concept of site templates, which will be sort of a starting point for websites that should get them sort of maybe where we're at 20% of a finished site right now. The idea of a site template would be to get it upwards of 80, maybe even closer. So how this actually works is definitely still a little bit up in the air. We only came up with this concept within the last couple of months, so there are a lot of open questions. This kind of demonstrates, I think, what a really simple version of it would be, which is Drupal CMS, an SDC-based theme, and an Experience Builder entity. And with that alone, you could be off and running building a campaign site. So that's a game changer. That's something we would never have been able to do before in Drupal. It's Experience Builder that really, Experience Builder plus recipes is what really makes that possible. So that's a simple version. I think obviously there are more complex versions we could think about. I know that the guys from Centauro have already published a recipe that includes commerce functionality. And I think the big difference here is that you can not only ship a theme, but you can ship a theme with a bunch of functionality that is compatible with that theme. So if you're interested in this, there's going to be a BOF on it today at 1:30. I don't know what room it's in, but it'll be at 1:30, so hopefully we'll see you there. And then, of course, Dries also mentioned this concept of a marketplace, which we're exploring. And this is just a very basic wireframe showing what it might look like. But essentially, it's a beautiful and easy to use place where you can see all of the available site templates and download them. So this is the sort of, I guess, listing page. And then we also have a concept for the individual template page, which would have screenshots. It would have information about the template. It would have some of the features that it includes. And it also ideally would have a way of previewing that template. So again, very early days, but hopefully we can make some progress on that. So, and if you have any questions, concerns, you just want to talk about it, yeah, please join us at that BOF today. And then the next priority that we're focusing on is the features that we know we need, but just don't really have yet. So number one, obviously, Experience Builder. I know you've all heard a lot about this already if you're interested in it, so I'm not going to go into it too much more. The key thing for our purposes is that it will ideally be released in September, October, and the inclusion of Experience Builder in Drupal CMS is what will make Drupal CMS 2.0. Then also we have the design system work, if you want to just talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so this is the thing that I'm more excited about, the design system and the site templates. I really think this is going to be a game changer. The thing that we were saying before, if we want to solve the problems for the people that is just landing in Drupal for the first time, this is the thing that is actually going to completely change. Imagine that somebody just speaks and says, I know Dries was talking about Sarah, the marketer, but imagine that you just actually want to have your portfolio or you want your SaaS company. MediaCurrent, I'm not sure if you knew, we launched the call for companies helping on that on December. We launched it on November. In December, we decided and we started all the work on January and February. MediaCurrent made an amazing proposal, and they are already working on the designs and the implementation. There was a session yesterday that they were going over that. And as you can see here on the left, we could have like a SaaS, for example, starting place, a site template with a design. And then we could have a portfolio site with a completely different look and feel. So it's the same design system, it's just the theme. It's different. It's going to have the same components. Those components are going to be available for Experience Builder, classic theming for Drupal. So it means from the beginning you will have the right components, you will have the right default content, you will have the right designs that you will able to customize. So you will have the content types also, you will have the features. If it's like an event page, you will have events already, all the listings. This is taking weeks away from a project. If you're starting from there and then you change things from there, this is taking weeks away from any project. Obviously, not all the companies that are going to do big projects are actually going to work on top of Drupal CMS, but this is taking away weeks, and from 0 to 10, this is actually going to help a lot.
We're getting a little bit low on time, so I'll move through these last things quickly. So this is just another thing that is very much on our radar, and I know it's a really big question that everybody has. So the idea is that once Experience Builder is out, it's great for new sites, but what about everyone else? And this is just to say that we know that, and it's definitely a priority, and Kristen, who's here, is going to be leading the charge, trying to help make this completely fake thing a reality. So once again, disclaimer, I know it says, but I just want to be super clear. This is not a thing that exists, but we hope that it will be one day. Similarly, it's not just migrations from something else to Experience Builder that we're worried about, but we're also really looking to make it easier to move from something else, maybe WordPress, maybe something else, to Drupal for your whole site. So again, this doesn't exist, but this is just to say, these are the things that we're thinking about, because I think right now there are a lot of tools that exist in Drupal, like the Migrate API, and I know there's a UI for it, but oftentimes I find myself thinking, oh, well, we've kind of already solved that problem in Drupal. And then I go try to use it and I'm like, yes, well, it's not quite this easy. So if you can imagine just a prompt saying, I'd like to move my existing site, my source is a CSV, or my source is I want you to scrape this site, or my source is a database, and just more of a wizard flow. Again, this is not a design, it's just an idea. I'm unfortunately going to have to skip very quickly past AI tools because these are both sessions that happened yesterday. If you did go to them, great. If you didn't, please watch them. I can't even touch on AI because it would just take up all the time. And the main feature that I think we really knew we missed in 1.0 was multilingual, and so that's a focus right now. It just kind of turned out that it was a little bit too hard to make a recipe or a couple of recipes that solve this problem in a way that we felt we could get behind. So right now we're focusing on two separate things. The first use case is installing a site in a language other than Drupal, which currently doesn't work for really obscure reasons to do with the installer, but we're working on that first. And then the second use case will be just making it easier to set up a site that's in two different languages. So obviously we all know this is something we can do. If you've ever had the pleasure, it's a little bit complicated. So we'd like to try to do that make that a little bit easier. And then lastly, we are working on workspaces replacing content moderation. So basically workspaces without the workspace. If you've ever used it before, you know it's extremely powerful and it's extremely cool, but it's also a little bit confusing. It's a completely new mental model for a lot of people that are used to just like edit my page and then I save it as a draft. So in order to support Experience Builder anyway, because Experience Builder has potentially a lot of different changes happening in the same place, we need a more robust solution for this. So the idea is, and Tag One is working on this now, the idea is to replace content moderation with workspaces essentially completely under the hood. So the end user has no idea that they're in a workspace. They don't have to create a workspace. They don't have to manage workspaces. They don't even need the workspaces UI enabled, but all of that revision management will just be handled by workspaces. They tell me it can be done, so I'm taking them at their word. That actually is targeted for Drupal core 11.2, and for sure, hopefully, will be in Drupal CMS 2.0. So hand back over to Christina to wrap things up.
Cool. So what we were saying, we are almost over time. So what we were saying is that what our goal is actually to get any project faster to the time to market. So it's easier and faster to ship a Drupal site. And there is a lot of work to be done here still. So if you want to help, let us know. And it's important that we're going to keep our Drupal strengths in mind. Whenever you install a Drupal CMS site, this is coming with all the things that you will have on Drupal because it's still a Drupal site. So you will be able to improve your site and keep all the scalability, security, accessibility, and all the rest of the things. And we want to make sure that we build something that people will want to use, so we don't have to present Drupal to our friends as WordPress but for enterprise. So we want to make sure that people is proud of talking about Drupal, speaking about Drupal, and they want to talk about that. So if you want to connect, there is these ones, and we actually miss the ones for the site templates and the marketplace. It's Drupal CMS templates and Drupal CMS marketplace if you want to join and help us and join the conversations. Thank you. Any questions?
Drupal theme that for 11 work out of the box with CMS? Is there
If there is a Drupal theme.
for Drupal 11 that will it work out of the box?
Yeah. Oh, this is on. Yeah, it will work. I mean, the question is just whether, the content types that Drupal CMS ships with obviously have specific fields and specific markup that you would probably have to adapt. But absolutely, I mean, it is just Drupal, so it would work in the same way that it would work on any Drupal 11 site. Yeah. I would strongly recommend that you develop your site using single directory components, even though it's not directly used in Drupal CMS. If you do that now, then it will be compatible with Experience Builder when it comes out. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have an idea of where we're headed past CMS 2.0? Because I know that's coming relatively soon. So what's the thought?
Okay, the question is, what's next after Drupal CMS 2.0? I think I can safely say I have absolutely no idea. Sorry, that's too far.
Yeah, our strategy is like 3 years, and it's been 1 year already. It's going to be 1.5 years by when we got to Vienna. So
No, I think the clock on 3 years started when we released the strategy, not when it was announced.
Okay,
So come
that's
on, come on, couple extra months.
That's 2 months. Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's going. So, Experience Builder is going to be so huge. This big, huge, and this shift on how we build Drupal, and it's going to take so much time to adapt all the sites. And if we have like the marketplace ready, because obviously we're talking about the marketplace, but we will decide the marketplace in Vienna if it's built, and the work will start then. So it's probably not going to be just obviously like Drupal CMS as itself. It's going to evolve, but it's also going to change the community, the fact that we will have like the marketplace. So maybe we could say.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the timeline for the marketplace is just to decide on it by Vienna. So I mean, hopefully we'll decide before that, but it could be that we only just get started building the marketplace then. So I guess that really depends. I mean, other things I think that we haven't really talked about here, but are on our radar are like just enabling easier integrations, because that's another thing that I think I sometimes think, well, no, we have that solved. And like HubSpot integration, we have that solved. And if you try to set up HubSpot integration with Drupal, and then you try to set it up with something like Webflow, it's very obvious that we have work to do, because with Webflow, you just authenticate against the account that you've set up and it's just done. And with Drupal, there's like 17 keys that you have to add manually, and it's like really hard to even find where to find the keys in HubSpot. So I think that's an area that we'd love to focus on, but just don't have time yet. So it's a super high priority, but it's just really huge.
Yeah, we find like several priorities that we weren't able to like focus on all of them, and this is actually one of them, because on the research that we did previously, we identified that marketers, they just want to have integrated their Drupal, their website with all the rest of the tool, A/B testing, mailing lists, and all this. All that they want is that go there and enable something, and they are looking for integrations. They are not looking for modules.
Yeah.
Actually, on some of the tests that we did, the people that were actually setting things up, they were like, "Oh, module, this is a developer thing. I'm not going to go there." So we have a lot of work to do in terms of explaining what things we're providing them and how to present that to them. So we're going to, Experience Builder is going to eat the admin interface, and we're actually going to change a lot of things from there. So Drupal that we have nowadays, it's not going to be that similar to the one that we have in 3 years. So it's going to change a lot, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Drupal CMS is built on very well-built recipes, and if I'm a marketer and I install Drupal CMS, but then Drupal CMS 2 comes out and there's new recipes that add new features that I want, is there a way that I could more easily discover them? As a developer, I know I can go in and find the specific command lines, but is there a marketplace or a store that I can add, a HubSpot integration or add?
Yeah, so the question is, if you have an existing Drupal site, if it's Drupal CMS or not, doesn't really matter, but basically how will you be able to find new recipes? And that's a very good question, because it actually is something that we're working on, but that will happen in Project Browser, because obviously you'll want to do that within your site. the recipes will also be findable in Drupal.org in the future marketplace, which will not just be for site templates, but would encompass everything. So site templates, modules, recipes, all of those things. And I think obviously, ideally, that would be happening within your website, like in context. So recipes are already supported in Project Browser, but the infrastructure to actually make them discoverable easily. But then we have the whole question of like, do you differentiate recipes from modules? How do you explain to the user which one they want to, because most times you'd want a recipe rather than a module, but then do you hide the modules? There's like a million things that you have to work through. So the answer is definitely we want recipes to be discoverable in Project Browser. They kind of already are, but there's no endpoint on Drupal.org for that yet. So we want to figure out exactly what we want there, because the Drupal Association has to build a bunch of stuff in order to enable that. And, they kind of want us to have made up our minds before they do that so that they don't have to keep changing it.
I like the new admin navigation. However, I noticed that compared to the Gen vertical toolbar, there's typically fewer menu levels. And I know I can reach some of those things with the coffee module, but I was wondering if a feature like that was in the works, or perhaps there's a way to add the ability to reach some of those menu levels in the new admin navigation. Like, is that a feature that's being planned for later, or?
So the new navigation having deeper menu levels,
Yeah,
there is an issue for that. On the navigation, the new navigation, there is an issue for that. There is work already done. The designs are done. So whoever wants
Hopefully.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Come to the contribution day and help us.
yeah, it's in progress. So the designs are done, and then actually needs to be implemented. So yes. Well, also in terms of that, we didn't go deep on that, but like Jean is actually integrating. So since last Friday, the top bar. I'm not sure if any of you tried to use the top bar from the new navigation, because of course you need to write all the documentation.
It's
for
kind of secret. You have to know where to find it.
So yeah, now if you enable with the latest 11.1, if you enable the navigation, you enable also the top bar. And it's really cool because it integrates really well with Experience Builder. We work together on coming up with designs. So you have the things placed at the same places. But Jean already had a top bar that, it worked a little bit different. So Jean already has an issue to integrate the new top bar. So from now on, you're also going to have the left navigation and the top bar, and it's going to change a lot of things. Yeah.
Is there any marketing target, or what is expected from the users, or what kind of user we are expecting to track with CMS2?
So, okay. So the user personas, we didn't have time to go deep in this. A lot of the work that we did on the UX side of things, doing all the research and so on, we identified three main, we identified like 13 or 14 user personas, and we summarized that in three archetypes. One is the marketer, whose needs we want to solve. The other is the site builder or share hat, which is the person that is going to build all these things. And then we have the content users. So what we are targeting is the needs of the marketer, with assuming that the people that is working on this marketing team has knowledge on how to build things, or at least which things they want to build. So we are targeting designers, front-end developers, and these kind of profiles. So we are targeting especially marketing teams from companies that maybe they don't have a budget to invest on a big website, but they still need to build a website. So they know what they want. They know which things this thing needs to have, but they maybe don't have like this huge budget to spend $500,000 on that. They maybe want to ship shit, I'm blanking. A promotion site, or like specific sites, a small
a campaign
website.
site,
Yeah,
like a-
exactly.
Yeah. And as far as the marketing plan, Ryan, who's in the room from the
Yeah.
Drupal Association, is the head of the product marketing there, so he might be able to answer more specifically, although I guess we'll give him a little more time to sort the marketing plan because he has a couple of ones yet. So
Yeah, no pressure for Vienna. Any more questions? No?
we're a little over time, so
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for finding the room.
thank you.